I know she will bring to the demands of her new role the steadfast devotion to duty on which I have come to rely so much. We're families, and you know actually what's going on in the community, and it must be really challenging for you. For years, Catherine stood beside Prince William with quiet grace, never demanding the spotlight, but always commanding respect. She carried herself with calm strength, earning admiration without needing to say much. But behind palace doors, a secret had been kept, one that only came to light after Queen Elizabeth's passing, when Princess Anne finally shared the Queen's final message. It wasn't directed at the king or the heir. It was for Catherine. The words stunned William and left Charles visibly shaken. Why had the Queen chosen Catherine? And what did she see that no one else did? Let's uncover the truth that could reshape the monarchy forever. Behind closed palace doors, one quiet evening, far from the public eye, something surprising happened. Inside the palace walls, Anne pulled out a letter she had kept hidden for years. Everyone thought it would mention the next king or the heir apparent, but no, it was about someone else. The person the Queen had quietly trusted to guide the royal family forward, Catherine. The palace felt unusually still that night. A soft fog wrapped around the gates, as if time had paused, and called for a private meeting with just Charles and William. No assistants, no distractions. The three of them sat alone in a room filled with history, surrounded by portraits of past monarchs. And didn't say much. She carefully placed the letter on the polished wooden table. Charles reached out first, his hands trembling slightly. William leaned in, eyes narrowing as he read the carefully folded paper. The letter was clear. Catherine wasn't just William's wife or a royal supporter. The Queen saw her as the future. She admired Catherine not for her title, but for her kindness, patience, and quiet strength. She believed Catherine had what it took to lead the monarchy into a new era. Charles struggled to accept this. The weight of the crown seemed to press down on him harder than ever. William stayed silent, gripping the letter, his expression tense but thoughtful, and said nothing to argue or persuade. She was simply the messenger of a truth the Queen had only shared with her, and understood that the Queen's choice wasn't about tradition. It was about what made sense now. Catherine wasn't just following the old royal script. She was rewriting it. After a long pause, William quietly asked why the Queen had never shared this before, and gave him a gentle, knowing look. Maybe the Queen was waiting for the right time, when they were ready to truly understand her vision. The room held its silence. Something fundamental had shifted. From that moment, the royal family's path forward would never be the same. Catherine never sought attention or drama. She quietly showed up, focused on family and duty. That's why the Queen had chosen her, not because of royal blood or protocol, but because she believed Catherine had the heart to carry the crown's legacy in a new way. Back in the room, the letter rested on the table like a spark ready to ignite change. Princess Anne stood tall. She didn't expect a response, but reminded Charles and William that the world had moved on. They had a choice: adapt and move forward, or risk being left behind. The monarchy wasn't changing with grand speeches or public ceremonies. It was transforming through a secret kept hidden for years, unfolding on a quiet evening, and through a woman who had no idea her life was about to change forever. By morning, the world outside Buckingham Palace seemed unchanged. London woke under its usual gray skies, the sunlight creeping slowly through the clouds. Yet behind those palace walls, a private, urgent meeting was taking place, one that would alter the future of the crown. Only a few trusted members of the royal circle and advisors gathered in a room heavy with tension and silent questions. Princess Anne was the first to arrive. She carried herself not like someone looking for conflict, but with quiet purpose and determination. In her hands was a simple folder containing the very letter that had shifted everything the night before. King Charles arrived next. His face gave nothing away, but his eyes revealed a restless anxiety. Shortly after, Prince William entered. He looked composed, yet his eyes held a storm of emotion beneath the surface. From the moment they all sat down, it was clear that their lives, and the monarchy itself, would never be the same. Without hesitation or small talk, Anne placed the folder on the heavy oak table. Her voice was steady and firm. leaving no room for debate. This wasn't her choice, nor Charles's or William's. It was the Queen's final wish, entrusted to, and alone, a new vision for the crown. All eyes focused on the letter, each word written in the Queen's neat, familiar handwriting. The message was clear and unmistakable. Catherine, not born into royalty but chosen by the Queen, was the one destined to lead the monarchy forward. This moment marked a shift from tradition. It was no longer about noble bloodlines or ancient rules. The Queen believed that strength, grace, and the ability to bear the crown's burdens mattered more than birthright. She hadn't changed the official line of succession. She knew some things couldn't be rewritten with a signature, but she had made her intentions clear in a way that could not be ignored. The Queen's heart had already made the decision. The words she left behind carried deep meaning. Catherine wasn't just meant to stand beside the next king. She was meant to be a leader on her own. As the truth settled in, the room grew heavy with tension and quiet whispers. Then came the anger. King Charles slammed his hand on the table, his voice trembling with disbelief. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. He had thought last night was just an emotional moment, something to be brushed aside. And didn't waver. She knew their mother was clear and certain when she chose Catherine. William finally broke the silence, his voice low, weighted with pain. He wasn't just shocked, he felt hurt. All his life, he had been prepared to take the throne, and now he wondered what that meant for him. And softened, speaking gently. She told him his role was still important, his presence still mattered. But for the royal family to survive a rapidly changing world, it had to grow and adapt. Their mother had understood that, and she hoped one day they would too. William's head dropped, his hands clenched tightly. It was hard not to feel sidelined, like everything he had trained for was slipping away. Still, something shifted inside him. He had watched Catherine face challenges he might never handle. He had seen how the public admired her, not for royal status, but for her quiet strength. She never sought attention, but the spotlight found her anyway, and she carried it with grace and humility. A small part of William, even if bitter at first, realized the truth. Catherine had quietly been the real leader all along. Meanwhile, Catherine carried on, unaware of the weight her name now held. She spent her days visiting sick children, speaking kindly to families, and shining a gentle light on mental health causes. Her kindness didn't demand attention, but it touched hearts deeply. She moved closer every day to the future the late Queen Elizabeth had seen in her. Inside the palace, the calm was fragile. Whispers spread as small signs slipped through the walls. Princess and stayed steady, never doubting what she believed was right. She understood that there was no turning back. The truth was rising like a tide, soon impossible to ignore. For centuries, the monarchy had been a fortress of tradition, and Buckingham Palace stood tall as its symbol. But when Queen Elizabeth II passed, the balance began to shift, and the future of the crown was quietly being rewritten. The crown without its shine. The announcement of the Queen's death shook the entire country, opening a new and uncertain chapter. King Charles now wore the crown, but it lacked the energy and warmth it once had under his mother. People expected a smooth transition, but the excitement just wasn't there. While he had his supporters, something had clearly changed. His past decisions, a broken marriage, and the ongoing controversy around Camilla made it difficult for people to connect with him the way they had with the Queen. Even Prince William felt the pressure. Though young, modern, and well-liked, his every move was under intense scrutiny. Every small mistake turned into front-page headlines. William's relationship with Catherine was seen as a positive for the family, yet even that began to feel like a burden. As public admiration for her grew, it started to overshadow him. People weren't just seeing William anymore. They were beginning to see Catherine as the real symbol of hope for the monarchy's future. Then, from across the ocean, Harry's bold accusations sent another shock through the royal family. Old wounds reopened, and the foundation of the monarchy seemed to weaken with each passing day. After the Queen's death, the country had shared a moment of unity and loss, but it quickly faded. The mood shifted fast. Polls showed younger generations questioning if the monarchy still mattered. Voices from places like Australia and Caribbean islands grew louder, calling for a break from the crown. Inside the family, the loss of once solid loyalty was deeply felt. They realized that clinging to old traditions wasn't enough. The monarchy had to prove its relevance in a changing world, but they also knew this wouldn't be fixed by polished statements or public relations campaigns. What people needed was someone genuine, someone who didn't just wear a crown but carried the trust of the people in her heart. William found himself caught in a storm of confusion. For years, he believed his path to the throne was clear. Now that path was shifting in a way he hadn't anticipated. It wasn't an outsider challenging him. It was the woman he loved most. Catherine had always been admired, but after the Queen quietly marked her as central to the monarchy's future, William felt his own role shifting. His love for Catherine was strong, but his duty to the crown ran just as deep. Holding those two things together was becoming harder by the day. The monarchy wasn't just about tradition anymore, it was changing. At the heart of that change was Catherine, the woman who had quietly earned the public's love. William felt the pressure building, but the royal family's troubles went beyond him. Their popularity was slipping. People were turning away. King Charles stayed awake at night, reading stories of past kings and queens, searching for answers in history. He wanted to understand how they had survived tough times. William carried his worries silently. They weighed on him like a shadow. When he looked at his children, he wanted to believe he was building a future they could be proud of, a quiet strength behind the crown. A part of William wondered if the future he imagined even existed anymore. Unlike him, Catherine didn't panic or try to change the course of events. She accepted what was happening with calm and steady grace. She understood the world was moving fast, and the palace had no choice but to keep up. What set her apart was that she never chased power or sought the spotlight. Maybe that's why the attention was slowly turning toward her. Catherine never aimed to be queen, yet everything seemed to point to her as the one who might hold the monarchy together. Outside the palace, everything looked polished, grand events, bright smiles, perfect photos. But inside, the atmosphere was tense. There was a heavy, unspoken weight in the air. The royal family's image, once as solid as stone, was now showing cracks. The great institution that had stood for generations was at a crossroads, and the world was watching, waiting to see what would happen next. Would the monarchy fall apart, or could it survive because of one woman's quiet strength? Nobody could say. Yet, they say secrets never stay hidden for long. Slowly, the Queen's private wishes began to leak outside the palace. A few careful staff members, who had been watching everything unfold in silence, started whispering the truth. When those whispers reached the public, the royal household found itself divided. Not everyone welcomed the idea of Catherine stepping forward. Some argued it wasn't right. How could she take on such a role when her husband, the natural heir, was still there? Critics pointed to the time she spent raising her children, suggesting she wasn't ready or lacked the political experience needed for the role. But others stood firmly behind the Queen's decision, trusting she knew exactly what she was doing. That trust sparked growing curiosity across the country. People wanted to know who Catherine really was beyond the elegant dresses, warm smiles, and royal duties. What they discovered was both touching and unexpected. Catherine Elizabeth Middleton was born on January 9, 1982, at Royal Berkshire Hospital in Reading. She wasn't born into luxury or royal blood. Her family lived an honest life, grounded in hard work. Her father, Michael, worked behind the scenes at airports organizing flights, while her mother, Carol, had been a flight attendant. On her father's side, there were some old connections to the British upper class. They had even hosted royals over a century ago. Her mother's family came from humble beginnings, coal miners who knew the meaning of struggle. Catherine's background blended pride and humility in a way that made her truly unique. When Catherine was just 2 years old, her family moved to Jordan because her father took a job with British Airways. There, Catherine attended an English-speaking nursery, her first real taste of another culture. Even as a little girl, she learned to adapt and make new places feel like home. By 1986, the family was back in England, settling in Berkshire. At just 4 years old, Catherine began school at St. Andrews, where she quickly stood out for her calm confidence and maturity. Her journey toward independence started early. Later, she attended a school with part-time boarding, which helped her grow even more self-reliant. Then something important happened in her family. Her mother, Carol, started a small mail-order business called Party Pieces. What began as a simple idea selling party supplies from home soon grew into a thriving business. This success gave the family financial stability and allowed Catherine and her siblings to attend excellent schools. Her story wasn't about royalty or privilege. It was about steady growth, quiet strength, and a deep understanding of what it means to work hard. Lessons from a humble beginning. More than just success, that small family business taught Catherine important life lessons. She watched her mother build something meaningful out of nothing. Patience, hard work, and staying grounded turned simple ideas into real achievements. These early lessons, far from the glitz of royal life, helped shape the woman the world would come to admire. This quiet strength is what made Catherine stand out when the palace needed someone steady to rely on. In 1995, her family moved to a peaceful village called Bucklebury, surrounded by green fields and fresh countryside air. Not long after, Catherine changed schools, a move that helped her grow even more. She later attended Marlborough College, where her confidence truly blossomed. Catherine was not just another student. She became a natural leader, captaining the girls' field hockey team. Her strength and determination were clear to everyone. She also earned the prestigious Gold Duke of Edinburgh Award, a sign of her hard work, humility, and dedication. During those years, Catherine quietly faced a personal health challenge that required a small operation to remove a lump from her head. She never made it a big deal. After healing, she stayed focused on her studies and kept moving forward as if nothing had happened. After finishing school, Catherine faced an important decision. Although she had been accepted to the University of Edinburgh, she chose to take a gap year instead. She wanted time to explore the world and better understand herself. Her journey took her to incredible places. First, she studied art at the British Institute in Florence. Then she volunteered with Raleigh International in Chile, helping local communities and hiking through tough landscapes. Later she worked as a deckhand on a ship in Southampton, not afraid to get her hands dirty or face challenges head-on. After these experiences, Catherine enrolled at the University of St. Andrews in Scotland. She initially studied psychology, but soon switched to art history, following her true passion. At St. Andrews, Catherine joined the Lumsden Club, a group focused on community service and organizing charity events. She also worked as a waitress to manage her own expenses, showing how down-to-earth and hard-working she was. But it was here that her life truly changed when she met Prince William. Their friendship began with a shared love of art history and quietly grew deeper. By 2002, after moving into a house with mutual friends, their friendship blossomed into a romance. They kept things private, but by 2004 their relationship caught public attention during a ski trip in Switzerland. Like many couples, their path wasn't always smooth. In 2007, after years of intense media attention, they took a break. Catherine later described that period as painful, but used it to grow stronger. Instead of falling apart, she carried herself with dignity and confidence, emerging even more resilient. Eventually, they reunited, and their relationship grew stronger than before. Over the years, Catherine faced relentless press scrutiny. At one point, the media even nicknamed her Waity Katie, suggesting she was just waiting for a proposal. But she never let negativity affect her. She stayed focused on her life and kept growing into the woman she was meant to be. Stepping into the spotlight, in November 2010, the engagement was announced, and Catherine prepared for a new chapter. She began using her full name again, ready to embrace her future role. On April 29, 2011, the world watched as she walked down the aisle in a royal wedding that captured millions of hearts. That day, she became the Duchess of Cambridge, stepping into a life filled with responsibility, expectations, and public service. Despite the sudden change, Catherine remained true to herself, calm, kind, and quietly strong. She and William soon became the image of a modern royal couple. They welcomed 3 children, Prince George in 2013, Princess Charlotte in 2015, and Prince Louis in 2018. Each birth brought joy not only to their family, but to people worldwide. Through the ups and downs of motherhood, royal duties, and charity work, Catherine found a way to balance everything gracefully. She made it look effortless, showing that being royal isn't just about a crown or title. It's about how you treat people, how hard you work, and how you stay grounded no matter what. Over time, Catherine became more than just a royal figure. She became someone people admired, not because of her title, but because of her heart. Her charity work wasn't for show. It came from a genuine place. She gave her time, energy, and care to causes she truly believed in. In quiet, thoughtful ways and behind the scenes, Catherine made a deep impact. In 2018, she did something beautiful without seeking attention, proving once again that her strength was in her humility and kindness. In a simple, quiet act, she cut 7 inches of her hair and donated it to the Little Princess Trust, a charity that makes wigs for children losing their hair during cancer treatments. There was no big announcement or public praise. She just gave a part of herself to bring hope to kids going through some of the hardest moments of their lives. At the same time, attention started shifting toward Princess, and in a way that surprised many. For years, she had stayed mostly out of the spotlight, quietly carrying out her duties without fanfare. But now she was stepping forward in a way that thrilled people who had been watching her journey closely. Princess and had always been known for her strength, patience, and unwavering sense of duty, both inside the palace walls and beyond. People admired her steady work ethic and loyalty. With a new title and added responsibilities, it finally seemed like she was receiving the recognition she deserved. Anne's path toward the throne signaled a fresh chapter for the royal family. This wasn't about glamour or show anymore, it was about commitment and service. She brought a practical, down-to-earth approach that many people now want from their leaders. The world has changed, and fairy tale figures no longer feel real or relevant. People want leaders who work hard, care deeply, and lead with honesty. Princess Anne fits that bill perfectly. Many believe she would bring new energy to the monarchy and serve as a role model for younger generations. So now, with the monarchy at a crossroads and the Queen's final wish lingering in the air, everything quietly shifts toward Catherine. She's not just stepping into a role. She's stepping into a legacy that was handed to her not with a crown, but with trust. And somewhere in the background, questions rise about Camilla, about what this subtle change really means for the future of the royal family. Was this always the plan, or did something behind those palace doors rewrite the ending? Let us know what you think.